Modern couples argue endlessly about housework distribution, childcare responsibilities, and who does more. Amish households rarely experience these conflicts not because they have better relationships, but because they've eliminated the negotiations entirely through systems developed over centuries. Here's how they divide work without daily arguments about fairness. Predetermined roles. Amish work division follows patterns established before marriage, learned from childhood observation, and reinforced through community expectations so powerful that questioning them rarely occurs to anyone involved. Boys and girls receive different training from age 4 or 5 onward. Girls learn cooking, cleaning, sewing, food preservation, and childcare by working alongside mothers and older sisters. Boys learn farming, animal care, construction, and equipment maintenance by working with fathers and older brothers. By age 16, both genders possess comprehensive skill sets for their respective domains. The division isn't negotiated after marriage, but assumed. Women manage everything inside the house, and within 50 feet of it, the kitchen, laundry, garden, chickens, and young children. Men manage everything beyond that perimeter: fields, barns, livestock, equipment, and business activities. This geographical boundary system prevents the territorial disputes that plague modern couples where every space is contested. The kitchen belongs to women, the barn belongs to men. No daily negotiations about who should do what because the domains never overlap or create confusion about responsibility. Modern couples attempting to negotiate fair distribution from scratch face endless conflicts because nothing is predetermined and everything requires discussion. Expertise justification. The work division gets justified not primarily through gender ideology, but through practical expertise developed over decades of specialized training that makes each domain's manager genuinely more capable than their spouse in their area. An Amish woman has prepared thousands of meals by age 25. She knows precisely how much wood the stove needs for different cooking tasks, how to manage multiple dishes finishing simultaneously, and how to stretch ingredients across large families. Her husband, despite living in the house his entire life, possesses only basic cooking knowledge because he's never needed to develop that expertise. Similarly, the husband has worked with horses and farming equipment since age 8. He reads weather patterns for optimal planting times, understands crop rotation principles, and can diagnose equipment problems through sounds and symptoms. His wife could learn these skills but hasn't because her time went toward developing different competencies. This genuine expertise gap makes territorial disputes rare. Neither spouse wants to take over the other's domain because they recognize their own relative incompetence in areas where their partner excels. The wife doesn't offer farming advice. The husband doesn't critique cooking techniques. Modern couples with similar training and capabilities struggle more because neither can claim superior expertise, justifying exclusive authority over any household domain. Non-overlapping schedules. Amish work distribution creates minimal scheduling conflicts because men's and women's heaviest workloads occur at different times, preventing competitions for time, space, or resources that generate arguments in modern households. Men's work peaks during planting season in spring and harvest in fall. These periods demand 12 to 14-hour days for weeks at a stretch. During these crucial windows, men work from before dawn until after dark with minimal breaks. Women's workload increases slightly during these periods, preparing extra food for exhausted workers, but doesn't fundamentally change. Women's work peaks during preservation season in late summer, when gardens produce enormous quantities that must be canned, frozen, or dried before spoiling. This period brings 16-hour days of processing food, sterilizing jars, and managing preservation operations. Men's workload during this time is relatively normal, allowing them to assist with heavy lifting or outdoor work while women focus on preservation. The complementary rather than competitive schedules prevent the modern conflict where both partners feel overwhelmed simultaneously and resent the other for not helping more. When one Amish spouse faces peak demands, the other spouse's work remains manageable, allowing increased flexibility and assistance without abandoning their own responsibilities. The offset timing makes burden sharing feel natural rather than negotiated. Visible labor. Much of the argument about household labor in modern marriages stems from invisible work that one spouse performs while the other remains unaware of the effort involved. Amish work division creates unusual visibility that prevents these resentment-building blind spots. Women's work happens in spaces where husbands regularly pass through or occupy. The kitchen sits at the home center. Laundry lines fill the yard. Gardens sprawl visibly near the house. Husbands literally see their wives working throughout the day, carrying water, hanging laundry, tending gardens, cooking over hot stoves. Similarly, men's work occurs in locations where wives can observe from windows or during their own outdoor tasks. The fields surround the house. The barn sits 50 yards away. Wives watch husbands working with horses, repairing equipment, or managing livestock during their own outdoor chores. This mutual visibility creates respect for effort that modern couples often lack when one partner works in an office while the other manages the home, or when both work away from home and neither witnesses the other's labor. The Amish husband can't claim his wife does nothing all day when he's watched her work continuously. The wife can't resent invisible fieldwork when she's observed her husband's physical exhaustion firsthand. Similar physical demands. Modern arguments about housework often include the claim that one partner's work is harder than the other's, creating hierarchies of suffering that breed resentment. Amish work division features equally demanding physical labor on both sides, preventing these comparisons. Men's work involves obvious physical demands, lifting heavy equipment, wrestling large animals, working in extreme weather, managing horses that outweigh them by thousands of pounds. The exhaustion is visible and undeniable. But women's work carries comparable physical demands that modern housework doesn't approach. Hauling water from wells, wringing laundry by hand, standing over hot wood stoves in summer heat, carrying full bushel baskets from gardens, kneading bread dough in quantities that tire forearms, scrubbing floors on hands and knees. By day's end, both spouses feel physically exhausted from genuine manual labor. Neither can claim their work is easy, while the other's is hard because both have put in 8 to 10 hours of physically demanding effort. Modern housework with dishwashers, washing machines, and vacuum cleaners doesn't approach the physical demands of office work or manual labor jobs, creating legitimate questions about equity that Amish couples don't face. When both partners engage in equally exhausting physical labor in different domains, complaints about one partner doing less feel absurd. The equality of physical exhaustion creates mutual respect that prevents resentment from accumulating. Economic contribution. Many modern arguments about household labor involve invisible or undervalued work that doesn't generate income, making one partner feel their contributions go unrecognized. Amish economic structures create clear value for both domains. Men's farming, carpentry, or business activities generate cash income that's obvious and measurable. A carpenter brings home $300 from a week's work. A farmer sells dairy products, generating monthly income. The economic contribution is visible and undeniable. But women's work generates equally tangible economic value that everyone recognizes. A garden producing $500 worth of vegetables represents savings as real as income. Preserved foods, 800 jars of vegetables, fruits, and meats eliminate thousands of dollars in grocery costs. Sewn clothing saves hundreds on garments the family would otherwise purchase. Eggs from chickens contribute weekly income when sold. The community recognizes women's economic contributions explicitly. An Amish woman with extensive gardens, preservation skills, and productive chickens is praised for her economic value to the household, not just her domestic contributions. Her work isn't invisible, unpaid labor, but recognized economic activity essential to household solvency. Modern stay-at-home parents often struggle to have their economic contributions recognized when they produce no income despite saving substantial amounts through childcare, cooking, and household management. The Amish quantify women's economic value, preventing resentment about unequal contributions. Competency pressure. Modern relationship advice often focuses on men needing to appreciate women's domestic labor, creating one-directional pressure. Amish communities create bilateral competency expectations that keep both partners motivated through social accountability. Men face intense pressure to demonstrate farming, construction, or business competence. A man whose crops fail through poor management, whose animals sicken from inadequate care, or whose business struggles through incompetence faces community judgment that affects his family's standing. Other men notice and comment on poorly maintained equipment, inefficient work practices, or failed projects. Women face equally intense scrutiny about domestic competence. Other women observe gardens, note preservation quantities, assess household cleanliness during visits, and evaluate children's behavior and clothing quality. A woman with a weedy garden, unpreserved produce waste, poorly sewn clothing, or undisciplined children faces criticism that affects her reputation. The bilateral pressure prevents the modern pattern where one gender faces expectations while the other escapes scrutiny. Amish men can't be lazy and incompetent any more than women can because community standards apply equally, just to different domains. The social accountability prevents arguments between spouses because the community enforces standards that would otherwise require nagging, criticism, or conflict within the marriage. If a husband's work quality slips, other men address it. If a wife's domestic standards decline, other women comment. Crisis cooperation. The rigid work division collapses during emergencies, revealing flexibility that prevents the resentment building from never receiving help during overwhelming periods. When a wife falls seriously ill, the husband steps into domestic roles without complaint or claiming incompetence. He cooks meals, manages children, and handles laundry despite these tasks falling outside his normal domain. The community also rallies. Neighboring women provide meals, childcare assistance, and household help until the wife recovers. Similarly, when harvest weather threatens or a major project demands completion, wives assist with fieldwork, barn tasks, or business activities despite these falling outside their usual responsibilities. They understand that crisis requires flexibility. The cooperation works because it's temporary and clearly crisis-driven rather than permanent boundary dissolution. Everyone understands that once the crisis passes, normal roles resume. The husband returns to his domain, the wife returns to hers. Modern couples sometimes struggle with this flexibility because without clear normal roles, any request for help can feel like permanent boundary negotiation. The Amish know exactly what normal looks like, making deviations during crisis feel temporary rather than precedent-setting. The crisis cooperation demonstrates that roles exist for efficiency rather than rigid ideology, creating respect and gratitude rather than resentment. Children as buffer labor. Amish households avoid many modern conflicts about childcare and housework distribution through a third category of labor: children's contributions that reduce demands on both parents. By age 6 or 7, children perform genuine productive work that reduces parental burden. They're not helping, they're completing actual necessary tasks that parents would otherwise handle. Girls wash dishes, set tables, watch younger siblings, collect eggs, and assist with food preparation. Boys carry wood, feed animals, help with milking, and perform basic equipment maintenance. This distributed labor system means neither parent feels overwhelmed by responsibilities they're managing alone. The mother isn't simultaneously cooking, cleaning, and watching multiple children because older children watch younger ones while contributing to meal preparation. The father isn't managing all animal care alone because sons perform feeding, watering, and basic maintenance tasks. Modern households with children too young to contribute significantly, or with cultural expectations against substantial child labor, place all work burden on parents, creating conflicts about fair distribution. Amish parents share the burden with children old enough to contribute meaningfully, reducing the pressure that generates arguments between spouses about who does more. Acceptance of inequality. Perhaps most fundamentally, Amish work division avoids arguments because both partners accept that perfect equality isn't the goal and that different seasons bring different burdens. During pregnancy and nursing, which can span 12 to 15 years given typical family sizes, women's physical capabilities and available energy decrease significantly. Husbands don't demand equal contribution during these periods. The community recognizes pregnancy and nursing as work that temporarily reduces women's capacity for other labor. Similarly, during peak farming seasons, men work hours that